if you're a business owner and you want to get more clear on exactly what tasks you should be focusing on because you feel so overwhelmed by all the different things that you could be doing, this video is for you. I've experienced this a fair amount personally, and it's also something that my clients often ask me about. And there's a system that we've put in place which makes it so much easier for me to wake up and know exactly what I need to do, and it's something that I'm going to recommend for you guys as well. I'm going to be breaking it down into two kind of sections, right? The main idea, the main concept, the first thing that I want to get you to get to grips with is the idea of working in projects rather than working in tasks. And the reason why is because I can literally, if I sat down, I could give you 100 tasks that would improve my business, 100 different things that would make the business move forward quicker, whatever, right? The problem is that as a business owner, you can only focus on a limited amount of things. I can't do all those 100 things at once. I need to understand how to prioritize them. I need to understand what things I actually need to be focusing on, okay? And this is the lens that we work through. So when I look at a task list of 100 different things, how do I identify the ones that are actually most important to me? And working in a project actually really helps to clarify that. Because when you say that I'm going to start on this project, it makes it, you actively eliminate the things that aren't that important to you. So I'll give you an example. Hormozy says that there's 4 levers within business: traffic, conversion, pricing, and churn. Okay, and if at the moment I'm like, okay, we're not getting enough traffic, I want to double down on the traffic area. I then put on the back burner the pricing, churn, and conversion. Right? I'm not looking at that anymore. I'm just going to look at the traffic. And whilst there's things that I could do on the different layers, on the other different levers, my attention is going to be on the traffic. And I think that's important because a lot of the time, if you're trying to fix 4 problems at once, you're not going to fix any of them, right? It's the old saying of like a man who tries to chase 2 chickens at once catches none, right? That's the situation that you're going to find yourself in. So narrowing things down to a specific area of the business that you're going to work on and saying that this is the project, like that makes it so much easier for you to categorize what tasks you should be focusing on. So if you had a task list of 100 and you then decide that, okay, the project that I'm going to be working on is increase in traffic, that might mean that out of 100, you now only have 25 tasks, okay? Which makes everything so much more manageable. The other thing is that you're so much more intentional with what you're doing because it's not just I'm doing all these things for the sake of doing it and hoping that things work out. It's like, no, I'm doing these things because I believe that this pathway is the best way to improve the business, okay? So when it comes to selecting your project, I would say hypothesize what is going to have the biggest impact on the business and figure out an area that you think, okay, yeah, this is worth putting our full attention into, okay? There'll probably be other things here and there, like little tasks that you might need to work on alongside the main project, but I would say fundamentally, you want to focus on a specific area. So for us at the moment, it's increasing traffic, right? We want to get as much traffic as possible, as many leads in as possible, so that we can actually like grow the business faster, okay? So our full attention or our main priority is how do we build out like the best traffic generator for us, and that's it, okay? We're not worried about pricing, we're not worried about churn, we're not worried about conversion, because right now the main focus is the traffic. So that's the first part of it, right? You have to get good at knowing what is the project that you're working on. And if you've got a team, make sure you communicate, this is the product that we're working on, this is why we're working on it. And then the next part, which is really important, is how are you going to do it? So this is the thing that I realized when I was coaching one of my clients. He's doing about 12K a month. And he basically he showed me his task list, right? And he's got everything on an Excel sheet. And he says, okay, I'm doing this task, this task, this task, this task, right? I said, okay. I was like, how do you know which ones work on different areas of the business? And he said, he's got them in like different columns. And I was like, okay, you've got different tasks in different columns, so you can kind of know what areas they're in. But how do you know the order of when you should be doing these things, right? There wasn't much structure to it other than being able to label like, oh, this is like a sales and marketing task, this is like an admin task, right? There wasn't any chronological order, which is one of the layers that I think needs to be really clear when it comes to building a business. What is the step-by-step process to actually get the things that I want? So for us, I can be really clear on it. So we're saying that we want to increase the number of leads. So our process is, okay, firstly, we need to find leads. Secondly, we need to craft an outreach message. Third, we need to actually do the outreach. Fourth, we need to review what the outreach messages were and how well they performed, and then we need to improve the outreach message, and then we're going to come back and do this again. Okay, and I can apply timelines to that, and there's a clear structure and process of when I'm going to do each thing. But if I didn't have a project and I didn't have a chronological order, what would happen is that I would have all these different tasks, right? And they would just be on my task list, and I would keep coming up with new tasks day in, day out, and I wouldn't know when I'm going to do them. And as a result, you would just be faced with a long task list that when you look at it, you'll just feel paralyzed, like, oh my God, there's so much to do. Having a project makes things more bite-sized so that you can actually keep up with what you need to do. Because if not, like I said, people get so overwhelmed so quickly. It's so much easier for you to just be able to take a step back and be like, okay, I have a project. This is the main thing that I'm working on because this is the biggest constraint of the business. And then after this point, I now know what the biggest constraint is. The next thing I need to look at is layer by layer, like what is the task that I'm going to be doing at what point. So this is why you'll see most projects and most, like I'm an engineer by trade, right? Like by background, more so than by trade, right? I've never actually been in an engineering working job, but when I was at university, like that's what I did my degree and that's what I did my master's in. And the project side of things, like it really helped me to understand like how I should work. And a side note to this, right? So the two main pieces of advice that I want you to take is build projects so you know what your biggest priority actually is and you're not just working on anything and everything, because that means you're not going to have a particular focus, which means that you're not going to get as much done. So that's stage one. Get a really clear project system in place. Secondly, build out the different layers and progression of your project so that you've got clarity on what is going to be done and when. So as you add new tasks and you think of new things, you can just slot them into the timeline of your project rather than thinking everything needs to be done at once. I'm so behind, nothing's going right, I feel like giving up. Okay, those are the two main things that I want you guys to take away from this. One last bit of kind of bonus advice that like I really believe in projects. I've believed in project work like since I was about 18. Okay, and the reason why I believed in project work is because it's what I've experienced as the most fulfilling. If you just wake up and you do the same thing day in, day out as a business owner, and you're just waking up and you're going through tasks, you're waking up and you're going through tasks, it kind of defeats the point of being a business owner, right? Because I believe that we want to create freedom, we want to create progression, and if you just wanted to wake up and do the same things over and over again, then typically your job would probably be better for you, right? But if you want to become a business owner and you want to see real progression, like I believe projects make much more sense because there's a testing period. There's actually one new client that we signed this week, and he actually gave me this piece of advice, right? Which is really interesting. And he said, entrepreneurs are like, they should think like scientists, okay? And by that, he said, everything should be like an experiment. Okay, I'm experimenting with this area. Like, this is what I think I could do. These are my hypotheses. This is what I'm going to do. This is my methodology. These are the results. This is the conclusion after we've done the experiment, right? And that in itself is some form of project. It's like, I set out a hypothesis. I did some stuff. I learned what works, what doesn't work. Now I'm going to do another experiment, right? I think that's a really strong way of working. And from a personal level, the reason why I've always liked that is when I look up to like fighters, right? I'm like, okay, if you're a fighter and you're going in for a training camp, you're not constantly in camp all year round. The reason for that is because, or the reason that I see for that is because the stress that you put on yourself when you're constantly working with no breaks, no kind of like clear like reward for what you're doing, it becomes like your motivation will start to dip, right? If you're in camp all year, slowly it's going to wear you down, right? And entrepreneurship's the same. It's going to slowly wear you down, okay? But if you think about a year being split into 4 different sections, instead of being like the same, then getting down, and then just like plummeting because you're just losing motivation, if you're in camp and then you have like a 2-week break, and in camp and then 2-week break, and then in camp and then 2-week break, what's going to happen is as you go in camp, your motivation will be more consistent, okay? And then when you have like some downtime, it means that when you come back, you can actually be at a higher level when you like actually were at the end of your last camp, right? So from a motivational point of view, I believe in this project system because I know that from a personal point of view, having some time to rest, recuperate, celebrate progress that you're making, that's a big thing. Celebrate, like actually appreciate the work that you're putting in, and then coming back and getting into it mentally, that's how fighters do, right? These are the people that get paid millions and millions of pounds to become at their absolute peak shape. If they're all doing it in this project-based format, where they're in for 3 months and then they take a break, then they're in for 3 months and they take a break, or whatever it is, then why aren't we adopting the same kind of mentality as entrepreneurs? When scientists say, like, okay, I'm working on this hypothesis, they put the paper together, they do the research, they actually conduct the experiment, and then at the end, they actually write up their papers and research and say, okay, this is what I found. As entrepreneurs, why aren't we doing the same thing for our projects, right? This is the way that most people in the world work, and it works well, right? That's why they do it. People don't even, like, if you're a fighter and you're about to get paid millions and millions for your fight, you want the best options. You want the best chance of success. And what people have found over time of testing is that projects work. Like, in camp, break. In camp, break. That works. That system works, okay? So if that system works, do that system. Use it. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Don't try and do something, like, particularly novel. Like, this is why even for G-Team, we haven't been as on it as I would like to this year, but we've always had, like, some sort of quarterly socials. Like, hey, like, this quarter we're doing this, and then at the end of the quarter we're like, okay, like, let's just meet up, let's have some fun, let's, like, chill, let's relax, right? Like, that kind of mentality for us always served us quite well. And it's something that I want to get back into as well. But it's just that lesson of having a project gives you a lot more structure. So I recommend you implementing something like that within your life, not only from your work point of view, but also from, like, a mental health point of view, of, like, just being able to take care of yourself a little bit better and being able to reflect and celebrate. That's it from me for this episode. I hope this is useful. I hope it changes the way that you guys work moving forward. And if you're part of the community, if you're a coach and client, you can expect more of this kind of stuff from me. I know I've already done it with a few clients of mine where I've told you that this is going to be the project that you're working on, but I really believe it's a strong system for us. So yeah, try it out. Let me know how it goes and keep me updated, man. I'll catch you guys on the next episode of the IWIN series.